Hi, I'm Andrew Skurka. I've been backpacking for about 25 years. I was the first person to hike the Sea-to-Sea route and the Great Western Loop. I also completed a 4,700 mile trip around Alaska and the Yukon. Today we're filming off-site. You can meet my fur baby Luxor, who will be joining us for probably most of today's filming. In addition to personal backpacking trips, I also run a guiding service. Every year we run about 50 or 60 trips in the Sierra and Utah and Alaska and Yellowstone. We've been really enjoying your questions and comments about our past videos, so today we're going to answer some of those in a mailbag episode. This is a weekly series that I do at the Trek. If you have other questions or comments, please leave them below. Also, of course, please like and subscribe.
These are questions that were left on your backcountry bidet episode. At Linguistic Philosophy Nutjob asks, serious question, does your hand stink after using the backcountry bidet? And is the soap and water actually getting everything off?
Yeah, so if you don't use enough soap and water, your hand can definitely smell like poo afterwards. So the solution is just more soap and water. Dr. Bronner's is my preferred soap. It's concentrated soap, usually like 5 or 6 drops of Dr. Bronner's with some water, develop a nice sud, and then rinse yourself with water afterwards, and then just finish with some hand sanitizer, and you shouldn't have poop smell on your hands. And if you do, I would say rinse and repeat.
At Bro Show asks, what do you do when there are swarms of mosquitoes and you have an emergency right now? Is there a faster way to clean up to avoid mosquito bites?
So if you have lots of mosquitoes around and you need to poop, I have a couple of suggestions. First is that before you drop your pants, have everything ready. So you have your natural materials like your sticks and your rocks, maybe some corn lily or some leaves. You have your soap and your hand sanitizer. You have your water. Your hole is dug. Okay, so everything's ready to go. So that'd be tip number 1. Second tip is maybe do some better site selection. So usually mosquitoes aren't just uniformly spread out through an area. They tend to like certain areas over others, so they tend to congregate where it's a little bit wetter, where it's less windy, where there's more shade. So if you can find some place that's more away from water, where there's a little bit of wind, where there's a little bit of sunlight, that's going to be better than the opposite. So that would be tip number 2. Tip number 3 is if you have wind, like a stiff wind, then you should use that to your advantage. So, and specifically what you want to do is once you have all your stuff and you have your hole, go ahead and point your butt in the direction of the wind, and then open up those Bombay doors, poop in the hole, and use all your things and just make it quick. And the reason that I recommend that you poop into the wind is because what'll happen is that the mosquitoes will naturally land or come to the leeward side, which is going to be the side that you can see. And at that point, you can be pooping while simultaneously swatting mosquitoes that are landing on you. If you do the opposite, which you will only make the mistake once, you point into the wind, and at that point, all the mosquitoes are on your leeward side. They're behind you. You can't see them, and they're biting your butt cheeks. They're biting your genitals. It's pretty awful. So, I mean, overall, having to poop it when there are lots of mosquitoes, not ideal, but it definitely happens, and it's just kind of part of being outdoors at some parts of the season.
So at Matt67524 says sarcastically, I wonder why the Appalachian Trail has norovirus outbreaks every year.
Yeah, so I don't know how true that is, but norovirus is, so the origins of norovirus, it's contaminated fecal matter that's kind of the origin of it. And then people who are sick or people who have fecal matter on their hands, they start touching things. And in advance, when I saw this question come up, I was actually well, how does norovirus pass? So it's super contagious, and it doesn't surprise me at all that on the Appalachian Trail, where, I mean, especially among thru hikers, there's almost a culture of poor hygiene. It's celebrated. And I can say that because I was one of the people out there with very poor hygiene, and sort of well, I haven't showered in 4 weeks. Isn't that great? So I think when you're outdoors, you still want, you still absolutely can catch things. So you want to be washing your hands regularly. You want to be staying clean. pits, crotch especially. So just make that part of your routine where like regularly you're cleaning yourself and like frequently cleaning your hands, but then like regularly cleaning pits, crotch. I also really like to clean my feet like once a day, once every other day, because that if you clean your feet, you get rid of all that like grit and sand and sweat and skin particles that make your socks kind of nasty and also can lead to blisters and other issues.
At Maxine Mead 8918 is wondering how women can effectively use the backcountry bidet without risking a UTI.
Thank you for asking this, because I did not mention this specifically in that bidet video, and I felt bad about doing that. Sort of poor omission on my part. If you're a woman, you don't want to be. Can I demonstrate here? I don't know if this table is.
You want to climb on the table?
I think I can just probably just on the chair. So if you're a woman, you don't want to be like taking your water bottle and tipping it up here and then like washing with this, because what's happening is gravity is taking some of the water and it's going from back to front, and you can definitely risk a UTI if you do that. So the better method if you're a woman is that, am I still in the shot? The better method if you're a woman is you're still in your squatting position, your pooping position, but what you want, you're gonna just work from the front, and this allows you to control it much better. So you're gonna take, just pour some water in your hand and just go to the back, okay? And then clean yourself, and again, some more water and clean yourself, and more water and clean yourself. So just repeat that process, and this method is you have much better control over where the water is going by doing this. If you're kind of squatting correctly, you can make sure that the rear end is more down and gravity is working in your favor, preventing that back to front transmission.
At Norton4962 wonders, what's his skincare routine? You look good at your age for the amount of time you've been outdoors.
So I saw that comment and I read it to Amanda. I'm like, do I have nice skin? And she said, yeah, like, I think you kind of have your dad's skin, is what she said. But it's not like my dad he's like Polish German, so it's not like he's like Mediterranean or anything. But I think, like, I looked at it a little bit more. I think actually what's happening there is that the Trek has done a wonderful job with the lighting, and they have just managed to like flatten all of the crow's feet that are happening, because I have spent a lot of time in the sun, and especially in my 20s, I was not at all sort of caring about what the sun was doing to my body.
Do you wear sunscreen?
I do wear sunscreen. I mean, like my routine nowadays is my sun exposure. I'm much more concerned about sun exposure than I used to be. So when I'm in sunny environments, which is like most of the places that I backpack, I'm wearing pants and I'm wearing a long sleeve hoodie. And the only thing that's exposed is my face, because I even have sun gloves on. So I just put some sunscreen on my face, and I usually do like a higher end sunscreen with ideally like a zinc. And I don't think that's gonna prevent me looking kind of old and leathered in my older years, but it's better than doing what I used to, which was wearing short shorts, t-shirt, visor, and never putting sunscreen on, because I just was covered in enough dirt and had enough of a tan that it didn't matter.
All right, so these questions were on your harsh backpacking conditions video. At Gen X Outdoors says, this is an excellent series. I've been on 2 Skurka trips and truly value Andrew's advice and insights. As I prepared to hike the Colorado Trail, I'm particularly interested in preparing for storms, rain, and lightning. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us on some guided trips, and we love to hear that our clients are taking the skills that they learned on our trips and applying them to longer, more difficult things. So Colorado Trail, awesome. We love that. I think specifically to the Colorado Trail, and this is going to apply to a lot of the West as well, the biggest issue you're going to have with weather during the conditions where you would do one of these trails is just going to be those like monsoonal storm patterns. And thankfully that's a really predictable pattern. You're gonna wake up in the morning and the sky is gonna look like it does today, total blooper, not a cloud in the sky. By 10 a.m., you're going to notice some like white, puffy cotton ball type clouds. By noon, the sky is really starting to fill in. By like 1 or 2 o'clock, some of these clouds are looking pretty ominous. It's like darker blue. Maybe the cloud ceiling is dropping. Not nearly as much sunlight as you used to have. So it's just a predictable thing. You can just look at the sky. There's a guy I used to guide with. He called it the LAS report. The LATS report. Look at the sky. And so thankfully it's really predictable. And I think if you get the sense that you're by like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that you're going to be dealing with storms, then you just need to plan accordingly. Maybe you're waking up really early in the morning and you're done with all of the high parts of the trail by like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe you plan on sitting out in the afternoon and hiking after those storms kind of like pass through and start settling down. Because that's the other thing about the storms. They peak in the summertime usually at like maybe like 2, 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock. But then as there's less, as the sun exposure reduces in the evening, the forces that are causing those monsoonal patterns sort of dissipate, and you'll notice that the storms dissipate too. So you actually have like some evening hours where you can still get in some miles.
At the Mr. Koala says, if you are in warm, wet conditions, then you are not in cold, wet conditions. In warm, wet conditions, I would just not bring a rain jacket. Maybe just bring a poncho if you want to cover your pack. But in cold, wet conditions is when I want it for the warmth, and I'm not worried about sweating inside of it because I can reasonably control that by controlling my pace. So the question I have is, where do you stand on ponchos versus rain jackets?
Yeah. I'll address the ponchos versus rain jackets, and I'll actually add umbrellas into that conversation too. But let me address this idea of there being warm and wet conditions. These definitely exist. I'm specifically thinking of the Appalachian Trail in the summertime. So it's like July, August, and it's 70 degrees or it's 80 degrees and it's raining. Anywhere in the southeast is also going to have those sorts of conditions too. Maybe you might end up in maybe in the Midwest, like Great Lakes, in the middle of the summer, you might probably also get some warm and wet conditions. And these warm and wet conditions, these are totally different than cold and wet. So whenever it's raining in the west, so like the Rockies, the desert Southwest, the Sierra or the Pacific Northwest, typically when it's raining, it's going to be like cold rain. It's just like the nature of things. But when you are in these warm and wet conditions, the commenter is totally right that rain jackets can just be torturous. And the idea is with a rain jacket, you're keeping yourself dry, but the issue is you're just going to wickedly overheat. Imagine even if it weren't raining, you would never want to be wearing a rain jacket on the Appalachian Trail in July or August. So I agree. I think what you want to do in those conditions, if you want to stay dry, you need some sort of rain solution that ventilates really well. A poncho is definitely going to ventilate better than a rain jacket, but maybe the ultimate solution for those warm and wet conditions would be an umbrella. An umbrella, you have this protective, waterproof roof effectively, and you have all of this ventilation. You don't even have, a poncho, which is kind of flappy and awkward. So an umbrella might really be the best solution. The solution to keep your stuff dry is still going to be the same. You want to be using at least one pack liner, if not 2 pack liners. And those pack liners, in a real pinch, you could use a trash bag, but the better solution is to use a trash compactor bag. They're thicker, they'll last for about at least a couple of weeks before you start noticing some holes, and the holes can be easily patched with duct tape.
Would you bring an umbrella on the Appalachian Trail?
If I hiked the Appalachian Trail again, I would absolutely bring an umbrella, 100%. Yeah, it weighs like 10 ounces, but just in the Appalachians, you could get rain on for days, and the only time you can get out of that rain would be to jump into a shelter. So just having this protected, dry place where you can just be standing all the time, you can take a lunch, you can go to the bathroom, you can read your map, or for everyone else nowadays, you can look at your far out guide, and all under the protective umbrella of this thing.
At Donnie614 asks, I thought maybe you would tell me what to do the next time I find myself above treeline in a lightning cloud. Probably pretty much too late at that point. Just pray and pretend to be brave.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, if you find yourself up really high and there's lightning, there's thunder, you might even feel the hair on your neck like stand up. You might hear static electricity between your shoe and the ground. Man, like you probably have made a mistake. And yeah, what do you do? Like it's, you know, it's contingent on the exact conditions, but do you just run as quickly as you possibly can downhill? Do you get under a really large rock and just wait for it to pass? Do you take every metal object in your backpack and on your person and like get rid of it? And then, like, you know, go into the fetal position on a foam sleeping pad? Like, you can do all of those things. And you should do those things if you find yourself in that situation. But ideally, you don't want to find yourself in that situation. And typically with lightning storms, they're not a surprise. You can see them coming. Like those big ominous looking clouds with the big anvil cap. Like, it shouldn't be a surprise. So don't push your luck when it comes to lightning.
Have you ever pushed your luck when it comes to lightning?
Yeah. Yeah, it's... Yeah, the challenge or the temptation with lightning, you're like, well, like, I don't want to slow down. I don't want to stop. I have miles to do. I have a plan. And nature is saying, I don't give two shits about your plan. So you're kind of playing with fire, and nature is going to do what it's going to do, and you get to decide what, you know, how you're going to react to nature. But I really, there are enough instances of people getting struck by lightning, and it's I think it's a legitimate risk. It's something that you need to be aware of. It's something that you probably shouldn't mess with. Thanks very much for watching. This is a weekly video series that I do with the Trek. This has been our first mailbag episode. We love all the questions and comments that we've been receiving about our previous video. If you have questions or comments for a future mailbag episode, please leave one below. Please also make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Also, if you're interested in one of our guided trips, we will be opening registrations for our 2027 season in like December of 2026.